The Monaco Grand Prix has just concluded, and yeah, that was Monaco, alright. But like I've been saying throughout the weekend, for a simple and easy to please man like me, I love this weekend as always for the cool buildings and the cool water and of course the cool cars. But enough about me, let's actually talk about the weekend and the season. As we saw last week in Imola, McLaren may not be so invincible like we once thought they were. Not only did Max beat them, but quite frankly, embarrassed them, which opens the realm of possibilities when it comes to a potential title fight between the three. And what better place to show that in than Monaco? I know what you might say. It's Monaco, dude. You can't overtake. And yeah, you're right, but who said anything about overtaking? This is the ultimate test of driver skill and driver knowledge. So if we want to know how the title fight could be, then this weekend will show who is the best and who is the least best between the three. Or one of them could have a supreme pace advantage, which if so, well, at least the cool buildings, but this weekend could be more than that. There are genuine highlights here that do show amazing racing. Of course, in 2023, we saw Max take pole with the ultimate lock-in. 2019 saw Max and Lewis fighting each other for the win. 2018 saw Danny, Rick, and Seb this time fighting for the win. And of course, that same year, we saw Max coming through the back of the grid. If you really can't tell, I am on the front lines when it comes to defending Monaco, so I better see comments that say word for word, Formula Duck, you are right, and you deserve ice cream today. Anyways, I've yapped on long enough. Let us recap the weekend and then find the winners and losers from it, as well as check up on my weekend predictions and my season bingo card. So go join the Discord to chat with the community and subscribe if you're new if you're awake. So enough yapping, and here are the Monaco winners and losers.
See those clouds up in the corner? That's where the rain is coming from.
So as always, we start with the recap segment of the video, and we surprisingly have a lot of things to talk about before Friday. Firstly, with the F1 movie a month away, what better time than Monaco to show all the drivers an early screening of the film? And judging by Kimi saying the movie was too long, Carlos avoiding saying the movie was good, and Max not even showing up so you can play video games at home, I think this film may be a little bit cooked, chat. But I don't care. If it's fun bad, then we're still seated. But if it is driven bad, then Lewis, you will pay for your crimes. Or maybe not, since Lewis showed up in a motorcycle and all black helmet, which no matter if we're straight or gay, we have to admit, all of us felt something watching this, so apology accepted, Lewis. Anyways, McLaren also showed a special livery for this race, which they claim is a nod to their old 60s car. However, it just looks like their 2017 car, if anything. McLaren's special liveries either result in shit results or the best performance ever, so I'm really hoping for the former this weekend, which, let's see if that's true. Friday starts, and as always, we got FP1, and considering we are in Monaco, we can 100% expect some crashes and damage for many. Take, for example, Leclerc and Stroll. Not even 10 minutes into FP1, there was a crash between Lance and Charles where it seems Stroll was too busy watching Family Guy clips to notice the blue flags for Charles, checking his mirrors, or hearing his engineer telling him about Leclerc behind. My guy had 3 whole warnings and still did nothing to avoid the collision with Charles. I'm afraid that's peak cinema right there. This is why I fuck with you, Lance. So after those shenanigans, the session is back underway where we see Charles looking rapid and Hamilton flying. Lewis in general was having a rough session since not only did he fly, he almost crashed at turn whatever this is and got called out by Liam of all people for going too slow. You know how bad you have to mess up for the PM person to say what are you doing? So after that and more traffic jams, the session ends with Charles fastest and the McLaren's 3rd and 5th. Don't celebrate yet. Don't celebrate yet. Time for FP2, and it seems a couple of drivers have sat down for a lesson with Colapinto. Leading up to the weekend, Alpine did a little video where Franco drives around Monaco on the F1 game where he proceeds to hit the wall on turn 1 and at the chicane, and it seems that Franco's best students, Pacer and Hadjar, took really good notes since Piastri crashed at turn 1 and Hadjar crashed at the chicane. Max seeing this saw just how good of a teacher Franco is, so he went up alongside him and gave him a round of applause for his brilliant teaching efforts. Anyways, the session also saw Charles still the fastest and Lewis for real now flying in P3. Don't celebrate yet. Don't celebrate yet. Finally, it's FP3 time, and with the session so close to quali, drivers don't usually push on these laps. However, Lewis didn't get the memo since he had a light crash in the session. However, it's not major, so that's good. And what's also good is his teammate Charles is still the fastest driver. Don't celebrate yet. Don't celebrate yet. So with the practices done, it is time for the qualifying where we can for sure expect action. So let us see how it goes. Q1 begins, and as expected, there is heavy traffic and times keep going lower and lower with each passing minute. Since conditions are like this, you are truly never safe in quali here, since one moment you could be first, but thanks to the high track evolution and traffic clearing up, you could be last by the time the session ends. So everybody is desperate. Someone who is very desperate is Stroll, not because he wants to be competitive, hell no, but but because he wants to go back home and get away from everything. So while watching his Family Guy clips, he apparently mistakes Gasly for Leclerc and compromises the two of them. Classic. Anyways, the session is closing out and everybody improves. However, at the end of the session, the yellow flags come out for Kimi Antonelli for doing what we all have done on the F1 game. Pray for the rookies, everybody. Also late in the session was a classic Ferrari moment where Lewis was told Max was pushing, so he slowed down. However, was then quickly told Max was slowing down when in fact he was not, so Lewis sped up and impeded Max, and now we have another Ferrari moment to share at the campfire. Q2 time, and right when all the drivers were about to have a time on the board, dramatic as George had his Mercedes car blow up and bring out the red flag again. Who would have thought coming into the weekend that Mercedes would qualify 14th and 15th? All I'm saying is, I wouldn't let that shit happen to my team. So after the short red flag, we're back out, and as always, Q2 ends up being the most uneventful. However, there were surprises. For starters, Sainz and Yuki get out in Q2, which is a big shame since they really shouldn't. However, there are big midfield surprises at their cost. Ocon gets through, Alonso is through, Hadjar is through, and the biggest of them all, Porson is through and looks very competitive. If the big drivers must fall, at the very least the midfield drivers get elevated. A soul for a soul. Anyways, time for Q3, and this will be massive since not only can he get pole, but 99% of the time, the win as well. The first runs are nothing special since it's mostly used tires. However, the second runs begin now and everybody's on new tires, so here we go. McLaren sets the benchmark with Lewis going 3rd, Max going 5th, Charles going fastest, Piastri not improving. However, Lando gets his lick back by going on pole. I don't think there are any words to describe just how lame McLaren are. All weekend they were sandbagging until it matters. I don't think a team has been this lame since Mercedes from 2018 to 2020, but whatever. It was a great lap from Lando, and I really just wish they showed their pace since the beginning. So with the brilliant quali finished, we now have the race, and with the 2 stops being mandatory, this could be juicy, but it's Monaco, so who the hell knows. Anyways, lap 1 begins, and after Lando almost bottles turn 1, all the drivers keep it clean until Bort and Kimi had a little incident where the Monaco walls were at fault. So after a short VSC and the soft runners spinning for hards, the race gets back underway, but halts just as quick thanks to Gasly's car killing itself and taking him out the race. Yellow's lifted again, and now we enter into proper racing around Monaco, which is a whole load of nothing. I mean, sure, the extra stops are nice and somewhat entertaining, but who cares? No one is overtaking. So nothing would happen for a while until Alonso hit his main goal to blow up and George overtaking Albon off the track after being stuck behind him all the race, which both are pretty funny, but I don't know, man. I would just love some racing. And the gods listened. Charles started to push Lando extremely hard at the end, but ultimately it is Monaco. So Lando put up a good defense and came home to win the Monaco race. Overall, the new 2-stop rule was actually a good success since we had good strategy across all the teams except for Mercedes, and I liked it, so good job Monaco, you get a W from me. So with the recap over, it's time for the winners and losers, and as always, we got the losers first up, and we got Lance Stroll. This weekend was truthfully a classic Lance Stroll weekend. While Aston didn't have the same pace as Imola, they still had a points finisher pace, and while Alonso was on the front lines, Lance, like I've said in the video, was watching Family Guy clips on his dashboard. Obviously, the FP1 incident was horrendous, but then he continued impeding in FP2 and FP3 before finally sucking hard balls in the qualifying and the race. Lance does what he does best, which is being a waste of space, so depending on how you rate Stroll, maybe he was a winner for you, I don't know. Next up is Mercedes, and what a rough week for them. Not because their driver sucked dick, I mean, one of them did, but mainly because everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong. Even in the free practices, they just looked pretty uncompetitive. So with an important qualifying coming up, they needed a big result. But if by big, you mean the greater the number is and not less, then a good qualifying for Mercedes, but it don't work like that. They qualified 14th and 15th thanks to Kimi crashing and George dying. Then you have their race. Oh my lord. Like George, I prefer not to speak. That should say enough. This is their first flat out bad weekend, I'd say, so let us hope they improve for Spain, where it could be potentially the most important race of the season so far. Next, I have Alpine, and while lately they have been quality merchants before sucking in the race, they decided to change it up this week where they just suck in every session of the week. Now, in terms of Colapinto, he did the best he could in his French toaster. However, not to sound harsh, I kinda expected a bit more from Gasly. I mean, duh, I said he qualified and finished P5, so clearly Alpine messed something up. I think what went wrong was just a lack of low speed pace. It was a constant in the season, so perhaps I should have been smarter when doing my predicts. Nah, but yeah, a nothing weekend for Alpine, and one they hope not to continue in Spain. Moving on is Puki Pornota, and before any of you want to say I am being harsh or being dumb, zip it. You cannot sit here and tell me P17 in Monaco for Yuki in a Red Bull is him having bad luck. Yes, I understand he is in a different spec car to Max, and I'm not asking for him to be directly behind him. All I'm saying is he should at the very least be in the top 10 scoring any points he can. It doesn't matter if he can make comebacks, he needs to qualify well and race well, not one or the other. Checo was getting slandered for performing better, but I'm supposed to baby Yuki because he doesn't deserve this? Yeah, right. I'm not slandering Yuki, I'm being subjective, and I think he has more pace to show, but it's just failing to do so. Now for the winners, and I begin with McLaren. Now, I'll say fair play to Lando since he was fantastic all weekend and finally did no or very little mistakes, so he deserves his results 100%. However, Oscar, can we have a discussion? He has been doing so many mistakes and hitting so many walls this week, but yet he still qualified and finished third compared to Max or literally any other top runner who has been flawless, and it just seems so lame to have him be third compared to somebody else more deserving. Yeah, I said it, what are you gonna do about it? It's just my opinion and you cannot say anything to me. But yeah, fair play to Lando, it's great seeing him back on top, and Oscar Piastri, you're on thin ice, pal. Next is Ferrari, and seriously, I will go missing if Spain shows the car back to being mid. This week with Charles especially was magical. There was a discussion on Twitter if Charles is the fastest driver ever in Monaco, and you have to admit, he is at the very least top 3 and not number 3. And a red tractor, he is fighting for his life to win and get pole against that McLaren spaceship. And let us not forget about Lewis, who's also doing great things in the car this week. So yeah, this pace better continue, guys, or else I will fly to Italy and go to the factory and personally kill. Next up is Racing Bulls, and it sucks that the track this week was Monaco since they had great pace. I say it sucks we were in Monaco since I would love to see them actually race, but oh well. All that matters is that they had better pace this week, and both of their drivers, I would say, were nearly flawless. I want to highlight Porson as well since Lord knows he has sucked this season, but if there is a place to prove to people you still got it, Monaco is the perfect place for that. And of course, Hadjar did well too, so yeah, good weekend all around for Racing Bulls. And finally, I have Esteban Ocon for doing massive heroics. That Haas car has not been good recently, and they needed major points if they want to stay competitive, so it is great seeing Haas actually perform again with Esteban, and maybe Ollie too if it weren't for that bullshit pen he got, so let's not forget him. Anyways, back to Ocon. He was rapid around here like usual, and it's just great seeing him have a good race compared to last year where, well, you know the story. So not that many words other than good job Ocon, and let us see how Spain turns out. Now for the bonus category, and I have the I'm not mad, just disappointed category, and I choose Aston for this. Come on guys, Alonso was gonna score points and then his car blows up. Why must you be content being mid and trash? Finally, how did my predictions and bingo end up? My quali predictions were so almost right, man. My race predictions were kinda right, kinda wrong. My random prediction was just flat out wrong. Your predictions were also kinda right for some of you. And finally, my bingo is still without any updates. So those are my winners and losers for Monaco. Overall, I always enjoy this weekend, so I'm always going to be happy here. Anyways, I got nothing else to say since the Indy 500 starts probably right now when you're watching, so I beg you, go watch Peak right now. Anyways, I want to give a quick shout out to all members of the flock for their continued support, and make sure to join if you want cool benefits as well as just helping me out. Anyways, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe since it really helps me out, and make sure to let me know in the comments who your winners and losers are. And as always, have an amazing day.
Good weather for the duck.